This is Sarah from Northern Cali, and you're listening to the E.I.T.H.R podcast with D.Cal.
So, let's start with the E.I.T.H.R.
You're listening to the E.I.T.H.R podcast with D.Cal.
And happy Monday, ladies and gentlemen. It is D.Cal here from the GNS HQ here in Northern California. Thank you very much. Hope everyone is having an awesome 3-day weekend. This is going to be more of a rant, vent type of episode. So please forgive if some of the stuff might seem a little, what is he talking about? But that's kind of where I'm at today, if you will. But I do want to kind of keep everything part of the number routine. So welcome to all the new people who will listen to the E.I.T.H.R podcast. The E.I.T.H.R podcast is where we talk about discussions and topics and issues that are sometimes very difficult to have amongst your peers because everyone tends to be one-sided or short-sighted or only see it from one perspective, where we try to see things from a multitude of angles. So even if your perspective, if your decision, if your point of view still stands on that hill that you're going to die on, at least you're going to be a little bit more of an informed, one-sided person. At least you're going to have a better idea of what you're agreeing with or disagreeing with, or maybe you might flip your decision. It's up to you. The E.I.T.H.R is an acronym which stands for the elephant in the room, and that's exactly what we talk about, at least in many different situations. We talk about things that is popular on social media, things that I see trending, or just stuff that's going out and into the world. First and foremost for the podcast, what we do is we do a shout out to people and things that I feel deserve credit. And the first shout out I want to give is to my man Paul. Congratulations, buddy. Now, for those who don't know Paul, which I don't expect you to know Paul, Paul is someone that I've known for a few years. He worked with me during when I had my fragrance business. And Paul's had a lot of obstacles. He's had a lot of hiccups. He's had a lot of roadblocks, if you will. Just like the rest of us, no different than anybody else. But Paul definitely has some things that went against his way that would derail most people. And so I do want to give him some kudos because I just saw on social media that Paul finally got his license. So I want to say congratulations to him. I know that is a big deal for him. It is a big step in the right direction. And for those of us who've had our license for a long time, it might not be that big of a deal. But some of us who do appreciate the fact that we have a driver's license, or some people who just got their driver's license for the first time, or maybe got your license back for the first time, you understand it's a huge accomplishment. So I want to give a shout out to him. We also do what's called inspirational and motivational. Inspirational, motivational are things where I say quotes or give examples of things that keep people inspired, because we are all going through a bunch of bullshit. Some of it is thicker than others. Some of it is more murky than others. So we're all trying to do the best we can with what we got. Just trying to stay afloat without sinking. So I'm going to say this. Whatever decisions you make sure that it's for the betterment of yourself. Whatever decisions that you make sure it's for the betterment of other people around you. Now, some people may say that feels like a contradiction, or you're talking out, it sounds like you're talking in circles. But if you make a decision that's good for you, but it's for the detriment of somebody else, is that decision really the best decision to make? So in any business decision, the best decisions, the best meetings, or the best outcome is usually when both people feel like they got something, or both people feel like they lost something. That way there's not a tilted side to the scale. So if you do anything moving forward today and the rest of your life, and you make any decisions, try to weigh out what's best for you, but also what's best for the other person. Even if it's transferring jobs, transfer a position. If it's going to make the environment and the culture of the job that you're leaving improve while you improve in your next spot, I say go ahead and do that. That's my inspirational motivation for you guys. Now, I didn't want to start the episode off on this, but this is kind of one of those things where I'm going to be venting off of. So I'm coming to the office to get ready for the podcast. I'm exiting the freeway. Now, the freeway exit that I take, there's signs, and these signs say no right turn on red. That's fine. Because there's been a lot of people making these turns, which is with opposing traffic, not opposing traffic, but with same direction traffic coming down the street. A lot of near miss collisions, so on and so forth, because people, I don't know why they don't look out their window when they turn, but they don't. So anyway, they put the sign not just on the sides of the exit, but also on the island of the lanes in front of you to separate the two directions of the street. There was a CHP officer. For those who don't know what CHP is, California Highway Patrol. And he's in the far right lane. So in these, there's 5 lanes going from left to right. The first and the second lane on your left-hand side are turning left. The other 3 are turning right. So he's in the furthest right lane behind 2 cars. And then there's 2 cars to his left. I'm the 3rd car behind him to his left. And then there's the lane to my left. Cars are turning right at the red light. And I'm sitting there with my sarcastic hat on. And I'm thinking to myself, you're not going to give them a ticket for turning right at the light? And he's just sitting there. You're not going to give them a ticket for turning right at the light? You're not going to give them a ticket for turning right at the light. Again, the light is red. And there's a sign, no turn on red. Okay. So then I say to myself, well, maybe he's not going because the car that's in front of him is parked, and so therefore he can't get to the other people, and maybe they knew that, and they just said, YOLO, fuck it, just go ahead and do what we got to do, fine, whatever. Then the car in front of him turns right. And so I'm like, where's the light show? Where's the light show? Why is there no lights flashing? There's no megaphone, there's no nothing. Now, granted, it's petty, it's small, it's stupid. I get you. I understand that. But it goes to the argument of when there are certain instances when people are pulled over and laws are used to manipulate. I said this on previous episodes before, man. The law is subjective. So if you ever read your laws, for California, for example, many of them start with, it is the intent of this, or it is not the intent of this. I feel that can be interpreted in 11 different ways, right? And I've also said in previous episodes, ladies and gentlemen, there's 2 types of police officers, and this is coming from a police officer that I had a conversation with. Listen, you get letter of the law, you get spirit of the law. That CHP officer right there, that person's probably a spirit of the law. It's not high traffic time. There's not a lot of cars on the road. I'm not going to sweat people for doing that. And that is fine. More than fine. The problem is someone else saw that the cops ain't tripping on somebody making a turn at a sign at an intersection. And again, I understand you guys are saying this is probably petty, this is probably stupid. But here's the problem with that. That could be used to pull somebody over. And I know this is a very sensitive topic. I know this is probably a topic that people are probably tired of hearing about. But it's shit like that people complain about being used to pull them over. So when the world sits back and says, you're making shit up, you're playing the victim, you're pulling the card, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing the other. I think a lot of people don't understand. In many of these situations, man, things that get overlooked because cops don't really want to pay attention to, at any given moment, guy, they can pull you over for that infraction, right? And I try to explain this to people who rather not understand it, most likely because it doesn't affect them directly. They know it exists, but they choose to ignore it. Is you can take the hood and you can take the hills. There's just as much crime going on in the hills as there is in the hood. The problem is the focus for law enforcement isn't in the hills. It's in the hood. And I think when you get people who try to shed light to that, one of the biggest issues is the boy, the girl crying wolf. Because so many people are doing so many foul things. What comes first, man? The chicken or the egg? You have people who live in a impoverished, poor community, and certain jobs won't hire them because of where they live, and because of their history, or because of their environment. They can't get the job over here. So then they only can resort to what they believe can be their only source of income, which is deemed illegal. You see things like this happening in different neighborhoods. Like I said, I'm going on a rant, so I apologize in advance, but it's just so true. That little instance, man, it just made me think, if there was somebody that the police officer, again, out of 10 police officers, 8 of them most likely are good cops. But it's cop number 9 that's the asshole, and cop 10 is their partner. So 9 and 10 is making 1 through 8 have to work harder than they need to, right? But at any point, somebody could turn at that intersection and a cop can blurp them and pull them over. That's my biggest concern. If you go to enforce the law consistently. That's my thing. Listen, if I break the law, I break the law. I'm at the point in my life, listen, if I break the law, I'm not going to sit back and give you no half-ass lie. Yeah, I did it. I thought it was cool to do and realized it wasn't cool to do until you pulled me over. Okay, cool. Give me the ticket. I'll go to court, pay the fine, and be done with it. I'm not going to sit here and go rounds with you for doing something that I knew I did. But the issue is, when I see other people doing it and then you pull me over for doing it, why me and not them? I said this before. It's like speeding on the freeway. If the limit is 65, everybody's speeding. Everybody's speeding. If you're going 66, you are breaking the law. Spirit of the law, letter of the law. Right? I think a lot of us feel because it hasn't happened to me, it isn't going to happen to me. And then we pull well, they're doing it too when it does happen to us, right? I just feel people in general, look, man, you got to be aware. If you're doing something that you know you ain't supposed to be doing, you can't really get mad at the consequences once you get caught for it. And if you're doing something when no one else is looking around, keep in mind, you're no different than the people who are getting caught for it. It's just no one saw you doing it, right? So that's all I want to talk about with that. I didn't want to start the podcast off with this. I didn't want to talk about this, but it irritates the fuck out of me. Because I'm like, I understand it's something minor. I understand it's something small. I understand it's something minuscule. I get it. But when you get people who just jaywalk across the street, which is illegal in California, an officer can elect to choose which law they want to enforce that you are breaking. Be consistent. Now, on the flip side, who knows? Maybe they're short-staffed, and he's been enforcing laws all day and figured, hey, screw it. I don't feel like being bothered with it no more. But just understand, man. Like, breaking the law is breaking the law. And it just seems that, certain people are focused more on laws that are being broken than other people. And little things like that annoy me. It just really does. So if you're not going to give people tickets for that, don't give anybody tickets for that. Anyway, moving forward off of that situation, I apologize for you guys on that. But like I said, man, it irritates me because I personally have been identified by police for doing something such as standing outside talking on my cell phone. Right? I've been identified by police by literally fitting the description of somebody that they're looking for. They got a 911 hang up, and I happen to be the only person walking on the street, and I'm like, no, I'm not. There's 2 cars parked right there, but you passed them, made a U-turn, and came back to me. Interesting on a 911 hang up. So I'm a little sensitive when I see people breaking the law in front of a police officer blatantly, when I myself am included with people who have been stopped by police because they assumed I broke the law based on, figure it out. So I want to move on to the next thing. If anyone remembers the situation with Alac Baldwin, he is in the news for the Rusk movie. So for those of you who aren't really in tune with what happened with Rusk on the movie set, there was a scene where there was a gun involved, and one of the biggest issues with this situation was the gun. Nobody knew the gun was loaded, and so with this loaded firearm, it went off and killed one of the people who was on the movie set. And there was a big ordeal about who's responsible for it, and he was like, I should be responsible for it because the gun was handed to me and I expected people to do this. And individuals who are familiar with guns, their perspective is, hey man, listen, anytime you hold a firearm, you're responsible. It's you. I don't care if 12 people checked it. You're supposed to check it. It's just gun safety. So I'm going to read this part in the article. So he's going to, court for involuntary manslaughter of the young woman who lost her life on the movie set. So it's been this big deal. And apparently you're not supposed to have live guns or real guns on set anyway. Most of the time it's replicas. But if they do have a real live gun, it's thoroughly checked by levels of different people. And so, but apparently on the set in New Mexico, they were doing some target practicing, Alac Baldwin and others, in the back of the movie set. So they were literally shooting guns at targets from a distance. So there was live ammunition there. And what happened. So, an article earlier by TMZ, and it reads, the heading, Alac Baldwin wins critical battle in Rust case, DA drops gun enhancement charge. And so when I saw this, I was like, oh shit, this is going to get interesting. So I'm just going to read this particular paragraph. Well, I'll read from the beginning so that way people don't take it out of context. So, the Santa Fe County DA has gotten a little embarrassed today. Dropping a key charge against Alac Baldwin. That now means even if convicted, he might not spend any time behind bars. The DA dropped the gun enhancement charge in the case. This after Baldwin's lawyer filed a motion exonerating prosecutors for going after the actor using a law that didn't apply. When I read that part, I was kind of confused on what it was. But remember when I said that laws are gray? It's shades of gray. It's different levels of gray. It is what it is. But if you can dig deep enough and if you know the law, you can, and I'm using air quotes, manipulate it to your favor. And the word manipulate can be used loosely, but you understand what I'm saying. Or hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say. So then it continues to read. As we reported, Baldwin has been charged with involuntary manslaughter in the death of Helena Hutchins. The DA initially tacked on the gun enhancement charge, i.e., using a gun to commit a crime. Problem is, at the time of the shooting, New Mexico law provided a gun enhancement charge could only apply if the gun was brandished, meaning the gun was displayed with intent to intimidate or injure a person. That's clearly not the case with Baldwin. For some reason, the DA felt Baldwin could be charged with a recent amendment to the gun enhancement law that doesn't require brandishing. Thing is, that law was not enacted until 7 months after the shooting. The DA blatantly saw it Baldwin's way and dropped the gun enhancement. That's crucial, right? So they tried to implement a law that's in now to a situation that happened back then. Now, I'm not against. Woman lost her life. That's the bigger issue here. She lost her life unnecessarily because of negligent irresponsibility and lack of accountability. She lost her life over a fucking oops. That's how she lost her life. The part that infuriates me is, okay, so they want to include this enhancement on his charges. The problem was it wasn't enforced until 7 months after the fact. So the situation happens, unfortunately. 7 months later, this new law goes in effect. Now they want to charge him with this new law. The problem is, the new law can't be used against them because of the time. It wasn't a law then, so we can't grandfather that in. You know how many people are in jail right now for selling weed? But weed's not legalized. There are people in jail. Listen, I don't care what color you are. There are people in jail for weed. But it's legal now. According to this situation, it was illegal when they sold it. It's legal now, but it was illegal when they sold it. That doesn't make any sense. And again, I understand weed, gun, involuntary manslaughter, distribution of, I understand that, bro. But I think the point is I'm trying to make for people to understand. The laws are very, very, I don't want to say tricky, but they're very, very different. Again, this was in New Mexico. This may not have applied in California. It may not have worked in Nevada. It might be different in Kansas. It could be different in Washington State, which is different in New York. Bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, know your laws. And Don't be like some people where you have this unrealistic belief that your law in your state travels with you when you go to different states. And I say that because everyone thinks that. Your boy did. I sure did. Listen, whenever I would go to Nevada in the days and things would happen, I swear I'd be like, well, in California, that isn't. Listen, bro, you're in Nevada. Once you cross that state line, what you say over there ain't got nothing to do with over here. What's the old saying? It ain't where you from, it's where you at. So understand that. Understand that. You see what I'm saying? So you have to keep in mind a few things. The point of this podcast. Shit ain't fair. Things are set up to where somebody can if they want to. Or set up to where they can't if they don't want you to. And depending on your knowledge of a circumstance or depending on your knowledge of a situation, you can be excluded from any disciplinary action. Right? It all depends on who's fighting for you, and it all depends on who's fighting against you. That's huge to understand that. Best thing to do, someone would say, is stay out of trouble. Well, the problem with staying out of trouble is sometimes trouble will provoke you into getting in trouble. And I don't have to give too many examples of what that means because those who know, you know. I will just say this. Those of you who have an influence, those of you who have some type of authority, those of you who have some type of sense, all I ask for you to do is if you see somebody getting taken advantage of in a way that makes you feel this isn't fair, step up. Right? Help out your fellow Californian, your fellow Oregonian, your fellow Bay Arean, your fellow Southern Californian. You see what I'm saying? There's certain things that happen that people literally just don't know because they're not from here, or they're not from there. No. Law enforcement, if you're listening to this, be consistent. Don't be consistently inconsistent, but be consistent. Right? If you're in a situation where you think that the best thing for you to do is also the best thing for the greater good of everybody, do that. Simple as that. Like I said, I wanted today's episode to be a little bit different, but I kind of just turned it into a vent fest because I'm tired of seeing so much bullshit going on with people. Which, another thing, if you don't like something, don't do it. Don't watch it. Don't see it. Don't look at it. Don't pay any attention to it. Just ignore it. Just sweep it under the rug. When someone is doing a video or you see a commercial, listen, I myself am guilty of it. That's why I can sit back and talk about it. Not everyone has to hear your opinion about something you don't like. That's okay. Keep it to yourself. And don't get mad if somebody doesn't want to hear the shit. Simple as that. So, I'm going to end the podcast on this note. So if you guys made it this far, all the way through, I do sincerely appreciate you. Whenever you're making to do a decision to create, to enhance, to perfect, or whatever it may possibly be, make sure you're doing it for you. Don't do it for the attention. Don't do it for the gram. I know there's a lot of people out there who want to get started on their own business, who want to create their own lane in something. I'm going to give you this suggestion. If it's not authentically coming from you and a passion, you're never going to enjoy it. One thing I want to talk about on the podcast eventually is the state treasury, whenever they're hiring somebody, in order for them to realize a counterfeit bill, they give people real bills, real money, real cash, real paper. So you know what it's like. You feel it, touch it, smell it. So when someone hands you a counterfeit, you can easily... That's what happens when you're not passionate about something. It becomes counterfeit. It's a fugazi. Your passion now becomes a job, and you hate that too. So whatever you choose to do, sports, entertainment, work, relationship, family, be in love with it, because it should come from a place of love. Listen, it's your boy D.Cal here at the E.I.T.H.R podcast. I appreciate your time. Follow us on social media, Instagram and Twitter at the E.I.T.H.R. YouTube, you can see the previous episodes. Just search for ENS Inc. You guys be good. See you next time. We out.
My name is Andrea Vargas, and I find something special about sharing the gallery that represents me here in Santa Fe, New Mexico. It's called King Galleries, and it's a special place. I'm originally from California, but we find in this gallery a way to see paintings of the Southwest, of the desert, of the land, and as well as the pottery that's made by living and breathing native Pueblo artists. So it's undeniably a place to receive inspiration and to reconnect with the legacy that belongs to all of us. It belongs to all of us as people of the Americas. And so there's much to share. My recent body of work is inspired by the desert, the thunder clouds, and thick paint. And I look forward to more people getting to share that experience and those beautiful aspects of Earth.